happened, and I just got a bad. to the council meeting. If you'll please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Lord, we are meeting today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, once again, welcome. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George? Mr. Mueller?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Here.
Okay, we have one absent. You'd like to excuse?
Make a motion to
George?
excuse Mr. George.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Lingo has made a motion to excuse Mr. George and seconded by Ms. Dosa. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I have no correspondence to bring forth. Does anybody else?
Minutes.
We have a guest.
Got to do the minutes, sir.
Minutes, I'm sorry. I already crossed it out, so I guess we're not doing them.
No changes.
Minutes from our last meeting. Anybody have any corrections, mistypings?
Anything?
I'd ask for a motion to adopt as printed.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes from May 3rd as amended.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to
Second.
adopt as printed by
Or so.
Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Redding. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we have a guest. TEC Engineering.
Good evening, everybody. Do you want
Good evening.
to? Okay.
No, go, everybody knows Ed. I think he's been up before, so I'll just, this is the report you requested, so he's here to come go over it.
Okay. So, kind of just to recap, I was here a couple months ago, and we talked about looking at issues along Hamilton Avenue, given, you know, the repaving that's going to go on. Put forth a proposal to look at the corridor. We did a lot of site visits, a lot of observations of the corridor, and then, you know, we've come through, and there's a list of recommendations in here, which I'll go through the different parts of the study, talk about some of those things, and then we can go from there. So basically, we reviewed the corridor over the past couple months since we talked, and, you know, that included on-site reviews, not only the pavement markings and the driving conditions in person, but also we had some cameras and stuff that we, you know, looked at what was going on, you know, when we weren't here. You know, starting in the report on page 5, you know, on these type of studies, we typically look at a laundry list of options, and those options include page 6, 5, 6, 7, and into 8. And so there's a lot of different things to consider, especially with, I'll say, traffic calming, which is what we're talking about. But then, you know, you start looking at those ideas, especially with the character of the street, and, you know, that we're talking about, and you come up with potential improvements. And those really start on page 9. You know, and there are a couple different options that we talk about, which include on page 9 a corner extension, which for each of these, you know, I will mention there's multiple different things. So it doesn't just mean I'm going to put a curb in at the corner. That can be pavement markings. It denotes the end of the parking area. The pavement markings act as it just, you know, it's not a barrier, but it does allow that definition of the end of the parking area. So I'll go through these real quick, and I'll talk about some of the things that we saw and I saw. So then page 10, mid-block traffic choker, which is basically a bump out in the middle of the road, or the middle of the block. In some places what they've done is a textured pavement corner extension, and that's on page 11. Bollards on page 12. And each of those have, obviously you have to plow snow. Each of those are an impediment in the street. There are concerns with some of those. Especially curbing, that does get into drainage issues. It gets into snow plows. It gets into, things like that. A couple of things that we noticed as we were out there is one, heading northbound along the corridor, at one point there's 2 lanes, and then at one point there's a parking in 1 lane. And there is some signage out there, but I do think some improved pavement markings at that transition area as you go from the 2 lanes to the 1 lane. I think that could help denote and the end of that lane and the beginning of the parking lane. So that is one thing that we have noticed out there. I do think that in some locations, the extension of pavement markings to denote the end of the parking could be done. So instead of like a bulb out at an intersection, it could be a pavement marking. And the pavement markings they do provide a rough area to drive over, so it's not as smooth as paint or just a lane. There's some texture to it, so it is not as comfortable to drive over. Those kind of things could also be done mid-block, fire hydrants, driveways, stuff like that. Those things could also be used in those locations to kind of prevent or deter driving and denote those areas. And there's some examples of that on pages, after page 15, some of the pavement markings, and these are areas around here where we have recommended them or seen them. And the last thing that we have done and tried recently is the parking stalls. So you guys stripe the parking stalls straight out, perpendicular to the curb. In some cases, we did a project recently, a traffic calming project recently, where instead of doing that, we actually striped just an edge line down the road. And you can do that in combination with the parking stalls, but what that does is it narrows down the lanes because it doesn't feel as open, but it also provides I'll use the term barrier, it's paint or thermo, but it is a barrier between the road where you're supposed to drive and the parking. And so it does provide that visual effect of I'm not supposed to be driving over there because it's a white edge line. So those are some of the recommendations that were in here. Obviously, there's some aesthetic things that could be done with textured pavement, but given the restriping program and stuff, I would probably lean more towards the restriping, but obviously that's why we're here tonight. So I covered a lot of stuff, so just feel free to ask questions.
Okay. So I guess I'll go first. Can you explain what this, the addition of a hatched pavement, is that like a raised area, or is it just appears to be a raised area?
So the hatched pavement or the textured pavement?
Yeah, it's on page 15.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell. It almost looks three-dimensional, like there's a hump there or something.
So the textured pavement is, you ever drive on a roundabout?
Yes.
They have a truck apron. A lot of times it's raised up, but sometimes it's not. It's just a textured pavement that's uncomfortable to drive on.
Okay.
But it's extra pavement, and as you're making especially for trucks, that's why they call it a truck apron, but so that they can use that without driving on the beautiful landscape median.
Okay.
And so it's something that at grade that is uncomfortable to drive on. Excuse me. One of the places I've seen it used in an interesting manner is down in Fairfax, by the mainliner Big Boy down there. They actually used it. It's a two-way left turn lane, but they actually did textured pavement, so you can drive on it and you can turn across it, but it's textured, so it's not very comfortable to drive on, if you were to try to drive on it as a lane.
Okay. I think the example on 15 is actually just paint, though.
Yeah, the example on
what it looks like.
15 is paint.
Textured though.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, but I
like a
don't know if-
shadow line that goes through there, kind of makes it
Oh,
look like
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
little
Yeah,
hill or
yeah.
something.
But
That's
you're
why I
not
was.
gonna really feel anything there, it's just it's
So-
more of a color thing. that's-
Yeah, and if they did thermo, you'd feel a bump.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
with paint, there's paint and then there's thermoplastic paint, pavement markings. It is bumpy to drive across. So if
Okay.
you drive across a stop bar, especially at slow speed, you can feel the bump if it's thermo.
Okay. Would you advise the thermo because I know our parking lines
Mm-hmm.
on Hamilton Avenue just north of Madison aren't marked real well right now. Would you advise to use the thermo on
Those
each?
will, excuse me, Joe, the anything
ones
we
will be
put back-
thermal?
Yeah,
Okay,
anything we put
okay.
back is with thermal.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And again, that thermo also, because it'll be new, as you tried to drive in that lane, it'll be bumpy as you drive across
Okay.
the lines that extend out of the curb.
So people that use that parking lane as a street, they're gonna know
They're good, they
but
will
if
know.
there's no cars parked there, I mean,
Yes, yes, so they will know if there's no cars parked there, if
'Cause
they
they
do
do that
just
a lot.
drive that. It'll be a bumpy ride driving up there. But yes, we did recently on Ross Avenue in Hamilton, they striped an edge line to denote the parking. And I've also seen it where they have almost a box, but on Ross Avenue and they striped that edge line to denote the parking, because Ross Avenue up there, it's a parallel to Park Avenue, and so it's a one-way pair. And they had speeding on both, but Ross has a much more residential feel than Park. Park is pretty wide, and so they striped that, and the speeds have gone down. So,
You know, I know our maintenance guys have expressed concerns about curbs, you know, things
Yep.
like that, actual barriers,
Yeah.
plowing and different things. You know, and then the other side of this is we don't want to put in too many markings and take away parking, right? Because that'll be the next thing business will
right,
say.
yes.
But I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that on corners and in front of fire hydrants where there isn't, you know, parking permitted anyway. And I think it'll give you that at least visual that says, oh, this, you know, these are
Yeah.
these are striped areas in front of the hydrant, you know, and yeah, you know, it shouldn't be driving over on this lane, but you know.
correct.
Sort
And
of like
it's
a-
still not going to be 100%. There are going to still be people
Right.
that.
That would, I'm sorry, that would be like a solid white line though, right, as you were saying earlier?
So, yeah,
Kinda-
you could stripe it as a solid area. You could stripe it as what they call threshold markings, which is the transverse lines. So you could stripe it either one of those.
Okay,
Um,
so what about, you know, if you're going down a highway, or like if you get just a little past the other side of the line, you get the, you know, the cutouts that,
Oh, the rumble
the rumble
strips?
stripes?
yeah,
Yeah.
Rumble stripes?
yeah,
I mean, those are typically more in rural settings. I'm trying to think of an example in similar to this. I've seen it more like, you know, driving out in the country or on the freeway, as you mentioned.
right.
I'm trying to think it. I don't know if I would recommend that here, just because of that. It's not something you typically see, and you get that effect of, because you're veering out of the lane.
Right.
And back in. That's why you get that effect. I don't know, because of the parking, you know.
Yeah, I guess my thought was, correct me if I'm wrong here, was, you know, if somebody's gonna pull in and park, they're going, you know, 10 miles an hour or
Right,
whatever.
yes.
And that's not gonna be too big of an effect, I guess, depending upon how deep those are.
Right.
But if you're going up through there at 30 or 35 miles an hour, they're gonna get that sensation, right? And
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
with a
I-
solid white line, I don't know.
I mean, that's
Just asking.
It's a possible. I know we did look at that in a residential area, and residents didn't want it for obvious reasons. But I have seen that recommended before.
You know, I mean, just knee jerk on that is, my concern would be that holding water, right?
Oh, yeah, you're gonna,
Yeah, and then you're talking about then pavement.
The freeze and the
freeze
thaw
the
and
thaw
everything else,
like
but,
that. You know, I mean, I guess just to keep it in perspective, for this current job that's already been awarded, and that's not gonna happen, but that, you know, I would think that you're gonna have to have some kind of drainage underneath there, because that's just gonna hold water, and then it starts to freeze, and you're just gonna start having, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
why
I'm not
that's- you know, They
technically-
do it on the highway, maybe, you know, I don't know, so.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's
Yeah, I don't-
crowned enough that it can drain
Drains
out,
in.
but that would be a whole re-engineer
could-
at this point,
Yeah.
so.
Have you seen it reduce speeds at all? For me, what it was just drowsiness, lane awareness, more of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I have not.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you can't be used for that, but I
Right,
have
right,
not.
right.
okay.
And if that's something you're interested in, we could definitely look at if it's drainable, if there's things that could be done. But to Bill's point, you know, the pavement markings are things that are in the current contract that could be added or deleted in this project. So I do think that those are the main things that I would look at. And then future things that maybe, you know, things like that, like, you know, the textured pavement that could be done, and locations for that. What I was gonna say is especially, I do think, you know, outside of everything else, I think that transition marking from the 2 lanes to the 1 lane with the parking is something that really, you know, you can put an end feature, which is, you know, directing people over, and then, you know, some sort of a transition mark that starts the parking.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, that's a,
I would definitely like
Yeah.
that, as well as some signage. I don't,
Oh, yeah.
like you were saying, I don't,
There is a sign, I drove it just to double check, because I thought there is a sign, but it's, you know, I think if you had some pavement markings to go along with that sign, I think that would really help.
Well, you know, what I would need to do, if you're interested, I mean, I think kind of the focus is page 14, because most of those are paint marking recommendations, right? I mean, I'd have to fairly quickly get with John Godey and kind of probably, I've never worked with the state before. I mean, I've worked with them to get to where we're at, and boy, it's been a process, but, and I'm thankful because they gave us a lot of money for this. I'm not bad, they gave us a lot of money, but, what it would take to get these would really just become change orders. And if we can do that outside the scope of just, you know, whoever's gonna do the thermal, say, hey, here, we're gonna add these additional things here. I don't think we're really gonna eliminate it unless, I mean, I guess one of the things we have to be clarity on is what
Right.
he's talking about. Either you put a solid white line with no hash mark parking, you know, and then it just kind of becomes a free-for-all where people can park just based on the signs,
Right.
you know, where it says no parking
Yes.
between the signs. But that would save you some money
Yes.
because you're not gonna have those perpendicular thermal lines, you know what I mean? If you do both, I mean, that's gonna be pretty substantial addition, you know, adding that white line all the way down on both sides in thermo. But I don't know what it is, I don't know what it
Yeah.
would be. You know, and then you could do some of on the corners, again, adding the hash,
Yeah.
the diagonals.
Yep.
You know, that wouldn't be as, you know, I'm just looking at here, I mean, there's I don't know, it's quite a bit, probably a half mile of
Yeah.
a white line. I don't know what that additional would be, but I could try to find that out.
oh,
yeah,
that's fine.
I would almost think, and it's however council feels, I would think that white line and the perpendicular lines to, you know, to denote the parking spots and also the hash marks. But, you know, I don't want it to be a $150,000 bill or something like that.
Right.
We don't know. I mean,
Hey, Ed, can you get me this? You can give me this so that I can get this to John
Yeah.
and he can expand it and we can kind of get an idea of exactly what we're talking about here. So,
Yeah, and I can at least start to look at it and go, okay, I think, and I can work with John on that too, but I can say, okay, the edge line is gonna add this much, I think, and then, you
Yeah.
know, maybe we can, maybe it's not every corner has paint, but maybe we pick and choose a couple that, you know, to re-emphasize, hey, there's parking here, you shouldn't be driving over here.
Yeah,
you know, and on a smaller scale, our guys we have thermo, but it's not as good as what what they put down.
okay.
If we found another, hey, you know, we could do that, and we'd probably do a couple more, you know, we don't catch it now, we could potentially catch it later. But yeah, I think we'd have to, you know, yeah, if you can work with John, that'd be
Yeah.
great, and we could try to
Yeah.
get some numbers.
Yeah, I like the white line. Painted would be better. I mean, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, thermo all the way down, that's gonna be,
Mhm.
you know, in front of the fire hydrants or whatnot, and if you wanted to do the parking sign, I mean, I guess you could just use paint there, but, or, you know, whatever we came up with, whatever
Yeah,
they
we
think, but.
pretty much try to do thermal everywhere, because it just lasts so much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing a white line, does that make it look like, does it denote park, I mean, does it look like parking, or does it
So
look
it,
like?
it looks like, it tends to look like there's a white, like the edge of the road.
Right,
And then it's known that there's parking over there and with signage or whatever, but it looks like the edge of the road.
okay.
So like little boxes, basically?
So if you did both of them, yes, it would
If
look
you
like
do
little
both, I mean.
boxes, yes.
Pl-
Yeah.
Plus, doesn't a solid white line denote that, hey, you're not supposed to be going over that solid white line?
Yes,
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a merge onto the highway. You can't merge until
right.
you get to this, yeah. So
And like you said earlier, it's,
that gives that would give us, our police an opportunity to,
I think they had something.
you know, to do
Possibly,
what
yeah.
we call some education on traveling in that lane.
well, like,
And-
like you said about the barrier, you know, the line.
Right, it also, what it does, putting that edge line all the way down, it does create, you know, when you drive, if you're in a narrow lane, you tend to drive slower, because you're in a narrower lane and you're worried about the people on either side of you and there's people going in the other direction and the parking cars, and so that white line, it kind of creates a narrowing effect in the lane.
Yep. Yeah, we could- I don't know,
Who's
what
gonna
does-
take the calls when people complain us about narrowing Hamilton on this part?
Street committee.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm kidding.
I'm gonna tell them it beats Plan B. And you don't wanna see Plan B.
That's right.
I like the stripe. I think
Not
that works.
narrowing,
You know,
it's still the
Thermo
same
where
size.
they,
Yeah.
wherever
They're
they,
allowed to drive where they never should have been
if you
allowed
get
to
with them,
drive.
Mr. Coker, whatever they,
Right.
you know,
Wanna
like you
voice
said,
your
we don't want it to be, you know,
Right.
I mean, all the way up and down, that's gonna be a ton of money. I mean, I don't,
If you just go
the
from.
thermo anyways.
From Madison up to Adams, or up to Hastings, or wherever the two lanes down there.
I mean, I think your plan
think from-
notes basically from Madison to Hastings, right? Or-
Right, yep.
Madison to Hastings.
I don't,
Hastings.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very far.
I know this happens basically McMacken South, because I drive it all the time. I don't know how big of a problem it is McMacken North of cars. You
It
know-
seems more southern.
Yeah,
You know, 'cause
yeah,
that
I
could
think
be
it's
another
more
thing is
southern
we-
coming off across
Because at
county.
Adams, the only people that go in the right lane are turning right.
Yeah,
Right, but I'm
Yeah.
saying between, you know, if we get a number back that's really big,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we could say, you know what, we're gonna take this up to,
Kenny?
Kenny, you have a new.
yeah, start with Kenny, you go to
Yeah.
Kenny, or
Yeah.
you could, yeah. Cause I really don't think, I mean, I rarely see it, I think there's enough parking between, really, yeah, between, Kenny, and Compton, and up to McMacken. I rarely see cars, you know, driving that. Now,
always
sometimes
cars there.
they'll pop out to turn right. If there's no car, they'll go right. But usually there's enough
I don't-
traffic, so I mean, if it, you know, if we really wanted to focus on an impact, we could do whatever, Compton South or Kenny South,
Yeah.
do hash marks. We could do, you know, and,
That's the only area I see passing on the right is, but from Madison really to Kent, I mean,
Yeah,
Yes,
on
I
both sides.
agree, on
Yeah.
both sides,
Yeah.
northbound and
Madison going
southbound
north,
lane.
they
well,
do.
both sides, no, absolutely. I'm
Right.
just saying, really, once you get north of Kenny or even Compton, I
Right.
rarely, I mean, down
Right.
through the heart
I
of town,
agree.
there's usually always a car
There's always
parked
a car,
there.
yeah.
Yes.
right.
And then you get north of McMack, and I usually turn at CVS, so I don't usually see, but I don't notice it that often, and it's not that much further anyway, really. I mean, if you're, once you're at McMack, and so, I mean, you'd probably save a lot if we really went from
I agree.
Kenny south.
I agree.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I don't know that I've really ever seen it down like by the dairy bar
Right.
or even working
The
your way.
only issue, and it's a separate issue, is from Adams north. People don't pass you on the outside, they pass you in the turn lane.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Now,
that's a whole different problem.
How do
It's a
you-
whole different thing. But
See, I don't ever
that's
go
what
down
I'm
that
saying.
far.
No one passes me coming from the high school to Adams.
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
outside,
Yeah,
Well, that,
unless they're
Yeah,
turning
south
right on
of-
Adams.
yeah.
I mean,
Yes, but that's denoted, so that there's
Yeah,
two
that's
lanes
what I
there,
mean.
yeah.
It's really a non-issue north.
and I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Ed, but if,
Yeah.
all right, if we go Kenny South, I mean, what kind of ballpark are you thinking? Yeah, I know. I mean, because here's gonna be the other problem. What if they start, we don't meet, if we go in summer session, we don't
Oh,
meet
you're
again
right.
to the 18th or 21st.
Hmm.
You know,
Well,
do you guys wanna give me a number that says if the change order is less than $15,000, go ahead with it? If not, we have to have a
Special meeting.
special meeting or something like that?
1.2
or-
I'll have
million?
the calculator, Bob.
I mean, the other thing that we could do is look at what the bid
25,000.
tab was. Because if they have items in there, then.
Yeah,
those
you
i-
might be
that-
able to give us
that-
an
That
estimate.
unit cost is set, and we can
Right.
get a pretty good idea. I mean, we'll definitively know what it is, but if there's an item we're trying to add that they don't have, we can tailor the design to what they bid.
Okay.
So, and we don't know when they're starting it yet, right? Unless you, okay.
Nope.
So, and,
Because it
You
is such a weird time to bid anything, and asking for, I mean, obviously they bid it, and they have unit costs, and if we can fit within those unit costs, that's probably our best shot.
If you get an estimate, why don't you email it to council and get a yay, nay vote that way? Is
I
that,
don't think we can do
no,
that, Joe.
yeah.
Can't
but
do
if
that?
it's,
No, we
do,
can't.
do we have,
well, we've discussed it and agreed to it.
Well, that's what
to
I'm
a-
saying.
To a certain point.
if,
I
it-
mean, I can't send out an email saying, are you guys good with this, and everybody vote? And I
yeah,
get an email.
we
No,
can't
do
email
that.
vote,
Open.
yeah.
No,
can't-
it has to be an open meeting, that's what I'm
So,
saying,
but-
we'd have to come back to vote, or if tonight, we generally say, as long as it's under $15,000,
We can take it from our current budget.
we can do it. If it's more than that, then we need to discuss it, and then I could send it out, and you guys could say, yeah, we need to have a meeting on this.
So
I mean, this gives us some leeway to try to work with it. I don't even know if 15,000 is gonna touch it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Only-
whatever you guys are comfortable with.
Well, I
10,000.
guess the only question I have is, I thought you had some discrepancy on your own, anything 25, under 25,000.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you mean I don't have to go out to bid on, we don't have to go out.
You don't have to go out to bid, or you don't have to get council's approval either. I thought,
I mean,
I don't usually operate like that, no, I would,
well, I know, in this case,
I
we
mean,
kind
it's
of,
something that
in this
needs,
case,
it's an
we know.
emergency or something like that, yes, but, no, I mean, I would get, just out of professional courtesy, get a buy-in from everybody, but, so, I don't know, I mean, what do you guys think?
$20,000. If it's under 20,000, do it. If it's more than that, we'll call a special meeting.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
$20,000?
Yeah.
Make a
That's
decision.
fine.
Yeah.
So,
And it may not even be that close, I don't know, I haven't
Must be.
priced thermoplastic
Yeah.
lately. so.
I can,
We could all get out there and stripe it.
It's, it's probably up like everything else.
Yeah, right.
I know, we
Supply
haven't,
chain.
we haven't had a whole, we got this over the weekend, right? So,
Right.
the hard copy is, I mean, how does council feel about that, or
What? I'm
do
sorry.
you need
As far
another
as
day or
what?
two, or
To do what?
just to think about it, or I don't want to just say, hey, okay, 15 minutes, we've made a decision, half hour, I'm sorry.
Well, you've had it since Friday.
Yeah, I know. I'm good, but other people might
Okay.
want to think about it.
I'm
I'm
good.
okay
Think
with
of
it.
something else, or, so,
I guess if it's over
So
20,
we'll-
then
we'll go with the
email us
20
for a
under-
meeting or whatever, and I guess we
keep it
go
under
that
20,
way.
you got permission.
There you go. Thank
If
you,
it
guys.
goes over that, you'll have to come back to us.
Perfect. We'll have to have a special meeting, that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay.
I think if we do that, and a year from now, we have different problems, then we talk about different
oh,
solutions.
yeah, definitely go.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
cool.
So again, we're going Kenny South with all the things that are on here, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Both sides.
Both sides and
Line,
perpendicular lines.
parking,
Where
and
there's
hash marks.
parking. I mean, on the east side, the parking only goes down to Stevens, I think. Down to
Yeah, it goes to-
down to the insurance company down there, across from.
Yeah, there's, because it used to be there were so many businesses there with driveway aprons that there was really no place for parking, but most of those buildings have been torn down.
Yeah, but
I think
mean,
there's a few spots, but not many.
Yeah.
And we're talking the white solid line is just gonna be paint, not thermo, right?
It's gonna be thermal.
It is gonna be,
I don't do anything paint.
okay, all right then, all right, okay, so it's thermal then, that's fine.
It'll be a change order to the contractor that's doing
Thermal.
this.
And
Okay.
thermo, right, so just so we're kind of close the loop here, thermo perpendicular lines too. Okay,
That's what I've heard.
Okay.
Basically, what we're adding is a solid white line
Throughout.
throughout. 'Cause we'll put the solid white line even if there's not parking on the east
yes,
side.
yes,
Because that'll
yes.
denote not to drive there,
yes,
right?
right.
Right,
If there's no parking?
yeah. Because if there's
Yeah.
not, people are
so
gonna
yeah.
drive in there.
Well, if you're coming north on Hamilton, there's 2 lanes. And when you pass Madison, there's still 2 lanes.
No,
No.
no, that's all parking.
If there's a sign, no. There's parking spots there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I mean, I think it's the same thing we're trying to I mean, people, that's where
That's where
people
people are
fly
going by,
by me in the
yes.
morning.
Well,
And,
There's
and
parking
then
for the
you
red
have-
line?
Huh? There's a couple at the red line.
I think
There's
there's
one up by there's, like I said, there's a lot of driveway aprons where they never, but those buildings have been gone for years.
Yeah.
But we haven't done it, so they didn't park there. But no, I would say you do it all the way there because you don't want cars driving in that lane, right? That's what we're trying to,
And I think we would do some sort of transition to denote the end of that lane and the parking.
right?
Yeah,
You'd start the
Like all the way
transition
down to
before Madison or
Madison.
after Madison?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Because really, you're just talking a short deal up to, really, to
2
the,
blocks, yeah.
yeah.
So if you're at
Yeah.
Madison and somebody's turning left during the time you're allowed to, there'll be a backup line because they can't get on the right. and
No,
go
no, they can go around. No,
Okay.
it won't be up. It'll stop before the intersections. You can go around cars, yeah.
yeah,
And then just another verification, where the green space is on the east side of Hamilton before, I mean,
north
those
of,
are you can still park, you should be able to still park there, we should denote them out, I would.
I
would
don't,
think.
whatever the plan shows, I know we probably went back with it, but again, we typically, I know there's several aprons there where there was
Yes.
never parking.
Yes,
And I've never, so, it was whatever was existing is
Yeah,
what
there
they
was-
would have bid it as.
Yeah, and I mean, this stuff is
Yeah.
based on John's
Right.
JMA's drawing, so.
Okay.
all right,
All right.
okay, clear as mud.
Any more questions?
thank you very much, I
Thanks, Ed.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, public input. Anybody here wants to address council? Nope. You come all the way up
You
here.
can be famous.
Okay, committee reports. Oh, you'd like to address council? Sure. Okay, you need to come up to the podium. Yeah. And you gotta give us your name and address.
And the reason why we do that is so that people that are watching, if you speak back there, people can't hear. It's just, it's just hard for people. So that, this way you can come up and you can hear.
Okay, my name's Elizabeth Waters, and my address is 2125 Miles Woods Drive. I live in Mount Healthy. And I have
What was the
property
street?
here on
Excuse me.
Hamilton, so I believe what you guys were talking about doing is.
What was the street name?
My home address,
Yeah.
2125 Miles Woods Drive.
Miles
Remember my
Wood?
street? Miles, M-I-L-E-S.
That's actually Corning Township.
That's Colerain
Yeah,
Township.
that's not Mount Healthy.
We're not Colerain Township.
You're in Mount Healthy School District.
No, we're Burlington.
Yeah, it's not City of Mount Healthy.
Right, it's Burlington.
Okay. You're in the school
You're in the
district.
school district.
But
Not,
my property is, I still have other property in Mount Healthy as well.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh, your home address is there and you own property.
Yes.
okay, thank you.
There you go.
Got it.
Okay, I just had, thoughts, about food trucks. You know, how everything works. How often do you guys meet to make changes? The information that I've gathered so far is like, it seems like it's really old, outdated. Like, how often do you guys meet to make, changes, or would there ever be any changes? Is there going to be any upcoming meetings about food trucks and things like that?
I don't even know.
Well, I don't know have you talked with anybody or you just looked on our website?
Well, actually, I have a food truck in Mount Healthy. I was here last year.
Okay.
And I purchased land in Mount Healthy so I can place my food truck on my land. And I was told that you know, basically I had to go through a lot of barriers to even be able to do that. So, but I was told that a lot of this stuff is outdated and it hasn't been addressed, and that I need to start coming to the meetings so I can find out more about it, and
And here you are.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, honestly, no. We you know, it's a food trucks are great, right? And we love to have food trucks, but we also have brick and mortar businesses here too that pay, you know, that to pay taxes and upkeep on their buildings. So we try to, you know, what we don't want to do is allow a food truck to go on the corner of Kinney and Hamilton to really stress the business of Angelo's Pizza. So I think we kind of try to manage that in a way. And I'm familiar now where your property is, and I know that it was kind of it was a unique way, because usually a food truck comes in and goes to Fibonacci has them. You know, it's kind of here and there, different things. What you were trying to do was kind of unique in build an area where you're going to have, you know, a permanent setting, and then there was parking issues, I know, because again, you know, if a business would come in. So I think, you know, you can't have guidelines and laws that's going to fit every scenario. I think to be honest, I mean, I think your scenario was kind of unique, right? Like, I'd never heard of somebody having a food truck and then buying a vacant piece of land and putting in a pavement to put that food truck on. I mean, that's, you know, you can't have a code that addresses all that. So, but yeah, I mean, if you have specifics of what you're trying to do, share them with us. We can look at it. If it's doesn't meet our code, then we can always make tweaks to things. But, I mean, is it fair kind of how I've summarized things, or?
Well, I guess. I mean, the things that I've done is because you
Yeah.
guys told me I had to do it. So
Right. Well, you couldn't. You had a vacant piece of land with
right.
you couldn't just park it in the grass, right?
Yeah.
So we said
And
you had to
that's
put it on a paved
understandable.
surface. And I know there were some questions about like covering it, and it wasn't that structure wasn't permitted because you just couldn't but build a garage structure, kind of what you were saying, right? It had to have bathrooms and you know. So I'm a little familiar with. So I know you probably felt like we were constantly pushing back and saying no, but there are reasons for that. You know, we don't want to have just up through the Hamilton corridor a lean-to structure go up. You know what I mean? It's got to meet certain requirements, and I think that was probably some of your frustration. And I know you did put in the area and the paved
Parking
area,
lot. we
the
did
parking lot, and so
yes.
you can pull that in there and work out of there. So, but
Are we talking the property by Pickens Window?
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
Oh.
all right. So there's like about a 900 square foot pad, I think, about 30 by 30?
I believe my husband.
Yep, okay. 30 by 40? Okay. It's 1,200 square feet? Yep, off the alley, right? Okay, okay. I just want to make sure I had the right spot.
Are there specific recommendations you have for adjusting any of these laws?
Yeah, I would like to figure out a way to be able to park my truck on my property because it's pretty costly. I have to pay for storage every month.
When it's
So,
not being used?
I'm sorry?
What you mean when it's not being used?
Yes. Yeah, all the time. Yeah, whenever it's not being used. And we're only using it during the spring and summertime.
That's when.
Yeah. But
So now I see where the issue is. Okay.
Yeah.
So I might be able to add one thing, like in a residential area. So in the city, you can't take a vacant lot and just put a garage on it. You have to put a dwelling on it for somebody to live in, correct? Am I saying this correct? I believe I'm going from memory here. But you can't just take a vacant lot and say, I'm building a garage for storage here. You have to have a dwelling with that.
And I think that's some of
Garage.
the conversations that we had
Or-
with you, right? With,
But isn't that considered, I was told that could be considered commercial. I mean, it's commercial all right there, all with us, on both sides it's commercial.
Yes, I'm
with
just
commercial.
a little bit of a comparison, but that's where I think a building, I guess we're requiring a building. I don't know, I don't recall that
Yeah.
section of the zoning, but,
Well, I was told that I had to put a building there in order to be able to park my truck.
and that's probably similar to residential, so.
The issue we're
guess.
dealing with is food trucks.
Who?
The laws regarding food trucks deal with parking food trucks on businesses and parking lots or on streets. You're doing something completely different than that. You're basically trying to open up a full-time shelter on wheels.
No, because I'm not open all year round.
Right,
But you want to keep it there full-time.
right.
Yeah, I want to be able to park it there.
So that's very
right.
different than the intention of food trucks and the food truck laws that we have. Food trucks, the intention of food trucks is that they're mobile and go place to place. So you're asking for something very unique, and I don't know if we're in the business of creating a brand-new law just for one business.
I understand.
Well, if it's gated, real neat, gated in the rear of near the alley, is that acceptable? I mean, where it's really won't be seen on the
We're
street.
still talking about parking a trailer permanently on a commercial property.
It's not actually a trailer. It looks more like a truck. It's
Right.
not real
It
huge.
has an engine, so we're just
Right.
talking about permanently parking a
Oh,
motor
okay.
vehicle.
But again, it's the structure, I think, that we got the hang up on, right? It was more of a, you just wanted kind of like a garage structure to park it in, right? And,
Yeah.
work out of there. That's, I think, where
No,
kind
not
of,
work out of it.
well, some,
Store it.
or you just want to store it there all the
I
time?
just want to be able to park it there
Okay.
instead of paying for storage
you.
every month.
Yeah, and our code does not allow for people to, in our commercial area, to build a garage to store. That's what it really comes down. Because you kind of threw me, because the conversation started off, we wanted to talk about food trucks.
It is a food truck.
Well, I
We're
thought
gonna
you were
take
talking
it out
about
of the
food trucks, we were
garage.
talking about having food out of them, right? You're just really
Yes.
talking about building a building.
Well, I'm going to sell the food on the property. We just want to have like a garage to park it in. We're going to pull it out of the garage when we get ready to sell the
Gotcha.
food.
Okay. You know, what I found is the best thing to do, if you could kind of write up a proposal, because we, because of these things, well, we didn't say that, we said that. If we got it in writing, and we're all looking at the same thing, and maybe we can bring in Bill Knight or Gordon, and they can explain to us, this is why this is what the code says, this is what we allow, this is why we don't allow this. And that way it's clear, because even sitting here tonight, I've kind of jumped back and forth as to what we're talking about. Because right now, what you're allowed to do is you have a surface and parking, and you bring your food truck in because you have to store somewhere else, and you serve out of there for a period of time, but then you have to store it somewhere else. That's the existing thing. And you wanted to build a garage on there to store it in all the time, and they said you couldn't. The zoning wouldn't allow doing that. So I don't think that's. Again, I'm not trying to mince words here, but that's not really a food truck issue. That's a building code issue with an accessory structure in the commercial area that we don't allow. Doesn't really have anything to do with a food truck.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. So if you could, and I can share it with council, we can get in their packets, we can have our and I think that's the best way to handle these things versus, well, we could do this, maybe we could do this. That's not what they said that night. If we've got an idea on paper, then we can all discuss it and kind of go from there. Is that fair? We'd love to see you back. Told you.
I'm sure it's
Come on.
pretty confusing on which way to go in that. So, I mean, just so I understand too, you would like to put a garage on there, pull it out of the garage, onto the pad, serve
Right.
food in the spring and the summer, and then fall and winter, park it in the garage, correct?
Right.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I mean, like Mr. Coker said, I mean, if you would like to write something up and present it, and then, we can go from there.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Great
I
job.
appreciate
Look at
it.
that.
Thank you.
Easy, right? Thanks.
Okay, thank you for coming up.
No,
not yet.
long way to go.
We're going to,
You can sit down and hang out still.
Or you could leave, it's up to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a way of finding out what the meetings are going to be about? Is there a website or something that we should refer to? I came over and I had heard talking to this last lady right here.
Right.
I came going back and what was all about.
It's on our website when our meetings are. They're live. They're being on YouTube right now. You can watch them live on YouTube. You can go back and watch the meetings afterwards. We have agendas that we can provide you. So the information's all out there. All right. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, moving on to the committee reports. Business Partnership and Alliance, Mr. Young.
Had a meeting on May 9th up here at the park. And a couple things that were talked about was the Business Association is giving a $500 scholarship to the Mount Healthy Schools to a student. They're basically letting the school district, whoever put in charge of that, to pick out what senior student would get that $500 who's going to college. And also a representative from the school was there. I was going to talk to Cordell, but he's not here. But the project, as far as the roads, the school is worried about if this runs into school time with buses. So we just need to have some communication to the schools for bus routes and things like that. So if we get one, we get back in August here when school starts back up.
Right. Any of our main roads that's gonna have construction, schools, I mean, there's
Don't
gonna be
know that.
access.
Yeah.
Now, during construction could it be slowed, we
Yeah.
don't know what could be going on, what exactly the time they're doing it, but there would never be,
I think they're just trying to wiggle around too. So I don't think I don't think they're picking up on Hamilton Avenue. I think it's just more of this traffic concern. But I told them we would keep with them on that. so.
okay. Hopefully it's done before they get back in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's see here. They're having a yard sale. The Historic Society is having a yard sale May 21st from 9 to 1. We can get a hold of Penny Huber and for donations, but they want no clothing, no large furniture, and no outdated electronics. So there goes my basement.
Oh, wow.
No TVs with tubes in them.
Yeah, I guess no tube TVs, yeah. But they're gonna, they need some help setting up that morning early, on the 21st to set up out there, and, everything left over is just gonna go to Salvation Army, but, looking for that. They did have the walk through the, Sears homes here in Mount Healthy. They had about 20 people show up, so they had 2 different groups go out. So that was pretty interesting to listen to that, how many Sears homes are in Mount Healthy. So it was pretty interesting. I wasn't able to come up for that, but that would have been kind of cool to go through some of those. And that's about all they had. A little bit shorter of a meeting, so it was good.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Young?
No.
Okay, move on to beautification then, Ms. Lingo.
Okay, flowers are planted at Heritage Park, and we're gonna work next on the city. And then I did email Dwight, see if there's any businesses that want flowers planted. We decided not to plant flowers on the corners because of the construction now. It would just get ruined.
Just the corner of Compton and
You know how
Hamilton?
we usually have them, and
Yeah,
maybe
all the corners.
CVS. and-
All the corners? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm just afraid. And it might happen with the businesses in front too, I don't know. So I'm waiting to hear back from him.
Okay.
That's it on beautification.
Okay. Questions? Okay, thank you. Finance, Mr. Parsons.
No report?
Back to you, Denise. Parks.
I don't really have a report, but I noticed on the new park schedule for the concerts, that got food trucks. Speaking of food trucks, I'm excited. Same one, but I don't know if you guys knew. It was on the 17th and the 24th of June, and July 8th and 15th. It's Cloud Swine Barbecue. I never heard of it, but it sounds good.
I think Ray really tries to do a good job, kind of based on,
Yeah.
some of our concerts have less, it's a good
Right.
concert, but we don't have as many people, so I think he's tried to coordinate it, so that some of that draws in enough to make it worthwhile for everybody.
Worth having a food truck.
The biggest problem with that is they don't start till 7:30,
Right.
and everybody's usually eating by
Yeah,
then, so
right,
before they
right.
come up, so.
If they know ahead of time, maybe they'll
Yeah, if they get there early, they could.
eat something.
Yep.
but That's it.
Okay, questions for Ms. Lingo? Okay, thank you. Streets and safety, Mr. Redding.
Streets and safety, so you heard most of the, everything on a little bit more on what's gonna happen on Hamilton Avenue, so we won't go over that again, but, we're patiently waiting for, to finish Adams and Hickman and Elizabeth. That should be happening soon. Who'd have thought it'd been 88 degrees, this week, so, all week. So, but it will be happening. And then, the only other thing I wanted to quickly mention is that, we need to get together before August with the street committee and just kind of go over the list of projects coming up, so we have that in time, so, maybe look for something in June. Maybe July, sorry. I think you're out part of June.
just a week.
Yeah, okay. So June or July timeframe.
Okay.
We'll have a street committee meeting. Yeah, I'll set a date for that.
Okay.
After talking with Bob and Denise. That is all I have. I did, other than, did not see the chief's report in this month's packet. I'm sure it's coming, so we might get 2 next month.
We got it in the first packet.
I don't,
I think so.
I
you
believe
got it
so,
to us on
yeah.
the second?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, I apologize. I read it and forgot it.
I do have a question.
Regarding Adams, Mr. Coker, you said something about it retaining water or something like that. Have they looked at that at all?
Yeah, I
The
was gonna
spot.
go.
Is that okay?
No, so there's a spot that's just north of, just west of, this is a good example of why we do this, right? So we can see the road, and there's a spot that's, west of Perry, that's, we had it cambered a few weeks ago because we saw some water, thought it might be a storm sewer, it wasn't. So they actually have made a determination of gonna be doing it, probably not gonna do it tomorrow with all the weather, but before they blacktop it, they're going to put in some additional drainage and get
Okay.
that pipe back. So, so yeah, that was the latest on that. And
Okay.
then
Cool.
they're gonna coordinate that with the paving. So I think the paving
Great.
was set to go on Friday, just, we wanna get that done before, so,
I agree.
yep.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I have a question on the streets, Hamilton Avenue specifically. It was explained to us a few meetings ago why certain intersections didn't have to have the dimpled handicap crosswalk.
Everybody has to have it.
Okay, on all 4 corners.
Mhm.
Madison and Hamilton only has it on 1 corner.
Well, then, they'll have to, those will be addressed during the construction.
Okay, so that's not something we're gonna do ahead of time to,
We tried to get as many of them done as we could, because that cost is 100%. But, no, if they're not there, they'll have to go in.
okay.
Yeah.
I think there's one down at the ramp on Hamilton Avenue in Cross County that needs to be put in.
Yep. The state won't approve the job,
Okay,
sign off on the job, and at the end, they won't sign off on the job if it's not great, if the grade's off by 1%. You saw that happen
Yeah.
at the corner of
Back
McMacken.
in,
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
No, it'll be stick, they won't let anything go by on that, yeah.
okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Schools, Mr. George, he's not here. I don't think anybody else has anything on schools. Library, Ms. Dosa?
Thank you. The library's last day that they had for meal boxes was yesterday, the 16th. They'll be transitioning to daily meals beginning May 31st, which is a Tuesday. Anyone 18 years and younger can come in Monday through Friday from 3 to 3:30 p.m. to receive a meal to eat while inside the library. During the meal times, they'll also be offering activities for the kids to do and also play movies on Fridays. The library is planning some summer programs for during the summer for the children, teens, and families. They're going to, for example, they're going to be adding a bedtime story time to their schedule starting in June. So families can attend an evening story time on the first Tuesday of each month, where they can enjoy a story and lullabies by wearing their pajamas and being comfy in their pajamas, and the other programs. They'll let me know about what those are, and hopefully I'll have that information for you to report at a different time. The library also has a full-time position that's open for a library customer advisor. A library customer advisor is someone that's responsible for providing customer service directly and on-site. It also includes the circulation of materials, providing resources to people in the library, technology training, assistance, like customers in person, by email, by phone. There's a whole list of things that position will encompass. And to get more information about that position, the link is on cincinnatilibrary.org. If you click on that and you go to working in the library there and click on Mount Healthy, there's a link to the job in the description. And this, as of Monday, this position hadn't been filled, so it's still open. So if anyone's interested in a full-time position at Mount Healthy Library, it's for a customer advisor position. And that is all I have to report.
Thank you. Questions for Ms. Dosa? Thank you. Urban Tree, Ms. Lingo.
No report.
We Thrive, Mr. Mueller.
A few small things. I'm sure the mayor can expand on some of these possibly in his report. The mural, I think the leading idea for that would be Underground Railroad. I believe they're talking about funding that 100%. So hopefully that, we'll see what happens. We'll have more information on that next month, I hope. Poetry, it seems like the high school is the schools are getting pretty into poetry. They're gonna start including junior high kids into this with the senior kids. And then they were working on some pool passes. I don't know much regarding that. Yeah, I think the mayor can expand on that one. But they're trying to get 50 pool passes possibly. I don't know what the total is gonna end up being, but we'll let you know. So that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Questions from Mr. Mueller? Okay. Moving on then to the mayor's report, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, a few things. The first two, Fibonacci Mount Healthy's Farmers Market again. It's always the first Sunday of every month from 12 to 3, so the next one's June 5th. That's before our next meeting. They are now again holding the community meetup that they started when they first opened. And I sent a email. They reached out to me. They hired a new events coordinator. What they do with these, they used to have them regularly. So it'll be the third Thursday of every month from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. They invite the community up, and they will have community groups give a quick presentation of who they are so people can learn about them. They want short presentations, short to the point. We're here, and if anybody wants to talk with those people or socialize with them afterwards, they can ask them individual questions. So about 5-minute presentations by these groups. They want 1 to 3 groups for each meetup. So they reached out to me for contacts. So I forwarded that to the fire department, police department. I think I forwarded it to all of you, city council, the historical society, Greg and Justin, so they could talk about the RC track, We Thrive, North Hills Soccer, and then summer park events. So I forwarded it to everyone, all those groups, so hopefully they'll be able to fill out their schedule. But it is, when they used to have it, it was a terrific event. It was a great way to find out about, the non-governmental organizations in town, which there are a ton of them. So again, I would recommend everybody go. They're the third Thursdays of every month from 6 to 8, starting this Thursday. I don't know who the speakers are this Thursday, but it is a great time to meet your neighbors, to interact. And I'm sure you'll have people picking your brains on things if you show up. Next thing, the woman that came up, Jamie Bartlett, or Barnett, sorry, that presented the idea of the Yard Beautification Awards. To be honest, I was really hesitant about council or mayor's department or government in general doing that for numerous reasons. So I recommended that she comes to We Thrive. She wasn't able to come, but she gave a really nice proposal that We Thrive has approved. So her proposal is to have 5 different yards recognized every month. The categories for those will be Best Manicured, Best Naturescape, Best Pollinators, Simply Perfect, and she has dimensions for that. And then the last one that actually We Thrive recommended is Best Food Yard, Best Food Producer Yard. So nice thing is it respects a variety of yards that we have around town. So We Thrive approved a $300 startup, which is what she asked for. She's gonna buy yard signs. So when these are voted on, when they're decided, there'll be a yard sign in those yards that say which one they want for that month. And then we'll have a yard sign passed out the next month. So it's great. We had some residents come up with an idea. We Thrive's giving them funding, and they're gonna run with that. So she's out of town now, but I'm gonna email her tomorrow to tell her it was approved. Also, go ahead.
Excuse me.
Yep.
I don't know if you want, like I agree with you. I think it's good to have it as, but people may not know where to go. They
Yeah.
may not know her. So I mean, if we wanted to put something on the website or have them provide us with information saying, hey, you can, if you want to recommend a yard, you can call this number, or we can have that, or whatever. We can help kind of facilitate in that way, too.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I'll forward that all to her. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
could help promote it and
Right,
publicize
right,
it.
right.
We even collect the info.
Question about that, too.
Yep.
Who will be making the selections?
So this is what we're gonna have to figure out.
Okay.
That has not been determined
Okay.
yet. This is just to start it up.
And will you only be able to win once every so often, or?
It's a good question.
Okay, not decided yet.
Yeah, great questions.
Okay.
I will add those to my email for her. Let me write that down. Yep,
Jamie.
I will email her.
Oh, my neighbor.
Thank you.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Barnett.
The next thing could apply to what Ross was asking about as well. We just found out today from Hamilton County Public Health that there's a $20,000 grant available. There's $40,000 available to Hamilton County. And Hamilton County Public Health has identified us and one other community to be the recipients of it if we chose. And we are going to run it through We Thrive. This is specifically through Ohio Department of Health to plan or to look at the current infrastructure and needs for non-car transportation. So walking, biking, it includes public transportation, et cetera. And they would come up with a plan for how to improve it, look at the needs and then improve upon it. Then after that plan, there would be a second round of funding that would come out to implement the plan. Kind of similar to what we did with Safe Routes to School, which was took a very long time to do. They came in, they did the plan, they looked at what we had, what we needed, involved the school district and the city, and then when we were able to implement some of the stuff like sidewalks, the state was able to fund that. So nice thing with this is since Hamilton County Public Health identified us, they will do the grant writing, they will take care of all of that process, since we are We Thrive community. So we went ahead and told them to go ahead and run with it. It's always something we can turn down if we're awarded, but from what it sounds like, we won't have to do the legwork on this. The only thing we might need to do is recruit people or provide a location for them to meet. And by recruiting people, I just mean community input. So the We Thrive Committee is committed to advertise, get people in, talk about it, et cetera.
So can this be a regional opportunity?
No,
No?
2 communities in Hamilton County get it. We are one of them.
Okay, so we couldn't like couple with Witten Woods
That's
and
what I
get
was
a
gonna
bike
say. Can we have a
cycle
bike
path
route to Witten Woods?
But we do have a bike plan that's already made for a bike path to Winton Woods. In fact, I just talked to Bill about this. We already have the plan created, and we've looked for it for a while. We need funding. Springfield Township was part of that plan. It exists. So I absolutely will hand that over to them. 'Cause that's,
Yeah.
Is that the one that follows the creek, or is that the one that goes back behind, like Parky's Farm, or?
that one.
That
Okay.
one.
Yes, this would go from the park, downhill, down Seward, and then cut through the retirement home back there,
Yep.
Ridgewood.
Okay,
Go through. And Springfield
Okay.
Township was on board with that, so,
Okay.
and so was Hamilton County Public Health, so.
Good.
We have it already made.
I knew at one time when they were doing work on Cover Bridge, that they put a auxiliary fire lane in there somewhere back behind there, so some of it may be built already, so
Be
I'm not
great.
sure. I don't know
Yeah.
what kind.
The good thing is this is part of what they're doing. They're gonna come in and say what's here, and they'll
Okay.
look at it and figure that out and build on that. So we just found out today, and the application's due Friday, but Hamilton County's taking care of it, so.
Okay.
That was a good one. And hopefully it'll address some of those needs. I would assume some of those, I know that accessibility, walking accessibility is part of that, so I'm assuming some of that.
Be nice to get them put in without having to pay for them.
Right, so I'm sure, I have a feeling this will be a while before this is
Sure.
implemented. It'll probably be fixed by then, but more of those will be looked at.
Yeah.
Also, this isn't specifically Mount Healthy, but a few residents asked me, and I did get an answer from Springfield Township. Rinks has the O'Rourke demolition
Yeah.
fencing up. It is gonna be a self-storage facility. So just let you know what that's gonna be.
Are they gonna demo the building and then, or they,
That's my understanding,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's what you think of when you see O'Rourke is
Yeah, demolition.
Right.
demolition, and
And that, the fencing is temporary, because part of my question
Yeah, right,
is
yeah.
that fencing, the poles are mismatched, and they don't have caps on it, it doesn't look like permanent fencing, and it's not. Yeah, it's part of the demolition, so I'm assuming it's gonna be the whole thing.
They'll all be happy, he asked every day, what's that gonna be? 'Cause he
So we'll
drives by,
see.
what's that gonna be? I don't know.
And lastly, not much report yet, I just want you to know, Bill and I are meeting with College Hill Community Urban Redevelopment Corporation next week. We just have been talking a lot about economic development, and in reality, we just don't have the time, staffing, to have an economic development department here. So we've discussed with them in the past, and then COVID kind of got in the way of things, so we actually have a meeting scheduled with them just to see if there's possibility for a relationship with them. Their slogan is committed to revitalizing the Hamilton Avenue Business District. And Seth Walsh actually approached me about a month ago and said he's very interested in talking to us.
Good.
I know one of the things they do is they get site control, they buy houses, or buy businesses, or buy buildings, get businesses in it. If the business wants to buy it, they then use those profits to buy another property, or they rent them out and use those profits to buy other properties. They're very successful right now, as you know, in College Hill. One of the problems with being that successful is they run out of properties to invest in, but we have plenty. So we're gonna meet with them and see where it goes.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have something good to report in the near future on that. And I think that's everything.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for the mayor? Okay, moving on then. City Manager's Report, Mr. Coker.
just a couple items tonight. One thing you saw on your desk is this is the world we live in right now. This is called a chip release. This is, we have an ambulance chassis that's built, or it's ready to go. There's just no chips to drive it up to the manufacturer to put on the cap of it. So, and the date important to that is now looking like somewhere between July 18th and July 24th. So,
To be delivered. Delivered?
for the chip.
To be shipped, okay.
No.
For the
chip.
chip to come in?
This is a chip delivery sheet, chip. They don't have the chips.
Chips
The
for it.
chips to complete the truck.
We're still missing our bag of Hussmans.
Yeah, Hussman's or Mike Sells?
Yes.
We'll get it in December.
And then
Yeah.
once they get the vehicle, then it's another 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
Toledo.
It's hard to put in them chips.
I know, apparently, yeah, it's hard to make them, hard to put them in, you know, I mean,
Then they still have to do the cab then.
Yeah. That's the 6 weeks. So
Yeah. That's the
once-
6 weeks?
That's the
Okay.
6 weeks,
Okay.
so
That's what
they're
I was-
ready for it.
They're
I'm
you
sorry,
know.
yeah, that's what I was referring to.
And, you know, yeah, so I'm sure they'll try to push it along as quickly as they can, so. But, yeah, we'll be at our year, like we said, when you ordered this thing. So we are targeting the Memorial Day. It's still looking good for the pool opening. We briefly talked about that before the meeting. Our guys are finishing up some work and some painting that needs to be done, and then goal is to hopefully fill it this weekend, get it tested next week, and then it'll go down in the 60s, and nobody will come down.
Yeah, I saw that.
Open on Memorial Day or
Yeah.
on Saturday?
I think the 28th is our target date.
The
is what we're
Saturday,
taking.
the weekend,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And I was gonna talk about the Adams project, you know, I mean, they set Friday, and then this thing came up, so I'm hoping that they get it repaired and get it done, but we're close, so. And then the only other thing I had on my list for you guys is that if we're gonna do summer session, that you should do a motion on that tonight, too, so. That was all I had tonight.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Coker. Questions? Okay, council. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions.
Finance Director?
Finance, Scott.
Sorry, Scott. I know, I don't like Scott. No, just kidding. I like you a lot. Finance Director, Mr. Bauer.
April reports are in your packets. Let me know if you have questions.
Next.
See, you see why that happens? Okay, thank you. Questions for that report? Okay. We have no ordinances. We do have some resolutions. First one is resolution number 22-1185, a resolution adopting the tax budget for 2023. We had the first reading on it last month, or last week, last meeting. Questions or comments?
I know a couple of you were missing, so this is the tax budget we do every year, submit it to the county. It's the kind of the first steps so that we can get our property tax levy money collected, so. It's based on this year's budget for next year. The one change was made. It may not be.
Page 5 was changed?
Yes.
Got that look.
There was one item noted last meeting that we just added another line. Didn't change the totals or the numbers really on the
Just
page.
splitting,
but-
splitting the two levies
Yep,
out.
Yep. So it says now the 5 mil and then separately the 12.9 mil. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Questions or comments on this resolution? What's your wish, council?
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 22-1185.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt. Mr. Redding has seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I think we need a
Oh,
roll.
I need a roll call. Boy, I'm on it tonight.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George, Mr. Mueller,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, resolution number 22-1185 is adopted. Next one is resolution number 22-1186. Resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Mount Healthy, Ohio, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund Program and to execute contracts as required. Once again, we had the first reading on this at the last meeting. Questions, council?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 22-1186.
Okay, Mr. Mueller has made a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Redding has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George, Mr. Mueller,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance resolution number, I just turned my page over, 22-1186 is adopted. That's the only resolution and ordinances we have. Old Business Council.
Last Thursday, the school students were here, and Mr. Redding and I made an attempt to answer the kindergarten first and second graders' questions. We did the best we could.
It was successful.
I forget how many hot dogs Greg said he cooked. There was a lot,
Yeah.
yeah,
They said
They had a
I
couple
heard
hundred
outside.
kids.
yeah,
200,
Wow.
potentially around 250.
yeah.
They were impressed with the big hammer, Ron.
Luckily, it's attached to the wall.
Yeah, I tried to get it off the wall.
That was,
I sure did. Without pulling it and destroying
Gonna
it.
whack one, were you?
No, no. I gave them your little hammer. I said,
Okay.
and I said, take it, pass it around. And they did, and they hit that chair, everyone we could get through.
That's good. Okay. Other old business. New business.
You're supposed to do this.
I didn't know what council's thoughts were. I was talking with a few people, but a dog park at the park, no go. I could take it or leave it. I don't know what your guys' thoughts
We've
are.
discussed that quite a bit over the years. but-
Right, yeah. Just bringing it up, seeing your thoughts. Maybe on the north end, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know where you put it.
in the park?
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, what if one gets out and it bites? I don't, that's
They could chase the RC cars.
that too. Yeah.
Okay, I might pay to watch that.
Yeah, I don't, just thoughts,
I was a fan. I was an early proponent of it 15 years ago when I was
Yeah.
on council. And I've had 3 dogs attack the dog parks, and I've stop being a fan of dog parks.
Okay. I don't have a dog, like I said. I mean,
I love dogs. I've had many dogs. The trouble I've run into lately is there are great people that take great dogs to dog parks, and there are many that don't, and it becomes bad.
Yeah.
It stinks.
That's fine.
Always looks good in a Hallmark movie.
Yep.
Everything looks good in a Hallmark movie.
Okay,
I think that one
that's fine. I could take it
gonna
or leave
require
it.
some thought.
If there's a group people want to talk about, I'm willing to meet with them and talk
Yeah.
about it.
Not a lot of energy behind that one.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a dog again.
I don't either.
Dan was just asking for a friend, okay?
That's right.
You gotta have a dog in this fight. is what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
hearing.
right.
I'm watching this from the sidelines.
Any other new business, council?
One thing, just wanted to bring up with all the parking and all that, and I think there's a potential issue here at the corner of Compton and Elizabeth, specifically the southeast corner of Compton and Elizabeth. There's a sign, no parking here to corner. There's a white vehicle that sometimes extends past that, and one of these days, one or two or three cars are gonna get destroyed from somebody making a right-hand turn, so,
There's a light there.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But the car is parked almost
Call the police.
on the corner, so.
So you'd
Well,
have to
Bill-
go into the other lane to
Bill brought up some months ago about, hey, if we should let the city know about complaints, so, and then that way there's, he's got some documentation about it, so.
I'll pass it along to you.
Okay. And then summer session.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, it's usual for us to go into summer session, one meeting a month. It's the third Tuesday of each month through June, July, and August. We may and do often have special meetings,
If something comes up, yeah.
but the special meetings are for the one item that needs to be passed or discussed, and then you're out of here. So, discussion, council.
Same
I
as
let
every
the
year.
vets, I go by the
You see, he
veterans.
was looking that way. I didn't say that. He said vets.
What did you say?
I'm new. I mean, I've never been through a summer session, so I
Yeah,
can't.
they're just, we eliminate one meeting.
Well, I wanna
that's
move to
fine.
meet every week.
Yeah.
Summer session, 4 meetings a month?
It's because so many people go on vacation, that way you know
Sometimes
for
five.
sure
Yeah.
Yeah.
what meeting we're
That's
gonna
fine.
have, so that more people
So
can
I'll-
attend,
I'm-
basically.
I'll make a motion that council goes into summer session, which is meeting one time a month on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 o'clock.
June, July, and August.
June, July, and August.
Okay, Ms. Dosa second Mr. Redding's motion. Roll call on that?
Just deny.
Aye.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Any other new business?
I won't be at the next meeting. I'll be out of town the next meeting,
The one on the 18th, or 21st.
on the 21st of June.
Do we need to get with anybody about Memorial Day Parade, since we won't be?
I already replied, sorry. I forgot to mention that in my report. Yeah, I already replied that we would be in it. It's 2 o'clock on Memorial Day, on Monday, so be there earlier.
Dairy bar?
Where do we meet?
Dairy bar.
Behind the Dairy
Dairy
Bar.
bar.
Okay.
I'll be up there with the sign.
Will you send us an email?
You didn't,
Just remind
Yeah.
us.
What time be there?
so nobody
Two?
told Dan.
1:30?
Parade's
It's
at
at
2.
2.
So,
So
like
be here
1:30.
before then.
We throw candy and sweat.
Oh, I knew I had to walk in it, so I already
Candy.
knew that.
Oh, for something else or for the.
Bring candy to
Rookie
throw.
buys. You
That's
guys can
him.
split
Bring
it.
that up.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Mr. Parsons,
Yeah, I make
A
a motion,
motion?
we go into executive session in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22 G1, to discuss employment and compensation of a public employee.
Do I have to second second or something?
Okay, I need a
Do you need
second
it?
on that.
I'll second.
Mr. Mueller seconded. Roll call, I guess, huh?
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George, Mr. Mueller,
Aye.
Mr. Young.
Aye.
Okay, by a 6-0 vote, we are going into executive session to discuss public employee compensation with, as stated. That, when we come back, we will dismiss the meeting, so this
Right.
will be the end of the meeting.
So, yeah, so just so that ICRC doesn't have to
IRC
stay.
ICRC can,
We don't do any business afterwards,
up,
it's just
yes.
adjourn. All right.
okay,
Jamie, can you come sign?
taking a break, executive session.
Ross, will you do this? Will you do the adjournment? Tom?